Hey, happy Monday, Damon. How are you, my friend? Are you on mute?
Oh, I am. Sorry. I'm doing great, Kurt. Ready to roll. We were just talking about this
You're,
beforehand, so I muted just so I would do that.
you did that on purpose.
Yeah, I did it
You're
on
just testing
purpose,
me. I know
not
what you're
on
doing,
purpose.
my
Yeah.
friend. So, all right, Damon, happy Monday. Hope did you have a great weekend? You and Odin, were you guys on the
Yeah,
beach?
it's good stuff. Good stuff.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I hope you got some rest because we have an amazing, incredible guest today. We have Adrienne Temple. Adrienne, happy Monday. How are you today?
I'm doing awesome. Thank you so much for having me today.
We are just thrilled and delighted. I know this goes back. I think we booked this months and months ago, and you and I have been connected on LinkedIn for quite a while. So I'm truly honored and privileged that you took time out of your busy schedule to join us. And we're going to do a deep dive into what's going on at the MEP network. So now, Adrienne, before we go there, you're at the South Carolina MEP Manufacturing Extension Partnership. But before we go there, I have a quick little question for you, if you don't mind.
Sure.
When you were a little girl growing up,
Mm-hmm.
who was your hero? When you were a little girl growing up, who was your hero?
Oh, yeah. No, this is going to sound like a gimme, but honestly, my dad. My
Hey,
dad was my hero.
Damon and I are big girl dads, so we love that
Yeah.
answer. Please share with us what made Dad so amazing.
Yeah, he always has been consistently just invested in my success, my brother's success. And, he worked in manufacturing. He actually worked in maintenance for quite a long time. And, he was just a hardworking guy, and anything that we needed, anything that we were struggling with. I mean, we used to go and get back then they had all the books for, trigonometry for dummies. I mean, we had all the books, we had all of the resources that we needed to be successful because he took our education so seriously and he really supported us. And so he was my hero because I thought, and I still think, he knows everything. He's got an answer for everything. So I have tremendous respect, even more now as an adult. Having my own kids, I certainly appreciate what a hero he was, to me and my brother, and continues to be. He's our biggest supporter.
Well, that's our favorite answer. And can you please share what is Dad's name?
His name is Eddie Barnes.
Eddie Barnes. Well, hey,
Yeah.
big shout out.
Nice.
God bless Eddie Barnes for being such a wonderful, amazing dad. And that's what, Damon and I love that because, it helps us, iron sharpens iron. We're striving to be the best dads. And I love hearing these stories. I guess, Damon, one of these days, maybe our daughters will say so. That'd be a win for us. So,
Yeah.
Adrienne, thank you for sharing that wonderful story. So I want to slide in here. So grew up in manufacturing, dad's a manufacturer, and just, hero, just dedicated to helping you be, really a fierce, in the name of our program, right? Stay curious, the art of lifelong learning. So you just answered where we got that title from, right?
Yes, exactly.
So that came from Dad. Now you brought your academic stalwart to NC State, and so you just fiercely wanted to get into manufacturing. Now you went into textile chemistry. Do I have that right? Textile
That's right.
chemistry.
That's right.
Damon, who knew that was even a major, right? So what drove you, what inspired you to pursue a degree in textile chemistry at NC State?
I have to give credit to NC State for that one because I started in engineering and went through and fully matriculated and just didn't feel the passion for the things I was learning. I just didn't get excited about it, and decided to change to chemistry. Chemistry appealed to me, but some of the other things in engineering specifically just didn't really energize me. So decided to pursue the chemistry route and just absolutely loved it. And if you're not familiar with the NC State, the Wilson College of Textiles, I would strongly recommend you check it out, only because everything that I learned, they had a full pilot plant in the downstairs basement, and our labs were on, pilot size equipment for manufacturing. And you saw how it all kind of came together. And I think that's one of the reasons that I stayed and that decided to graduate. My focus was dyeing and finishing chemistry, and actually went into a dye house. That was my first job out of college after I graduated. So, but you just got excited. I mean, you got to have a tangible result from the things that you were learning real time. And it really applied to industry. I mean, that same equipment was in places I ended up working later. So it just gave me so much more energy around that. And, again, I probably missed that time frame where some of the textile jobs moved overseas. It was the very next probably graduating class that had a little bit more difficulty. So I was really blessed in that, but it's really served me well long-term. I've really enjoyed, that time, and then being able to apply it real life in manufacturing.
Well, that is awesome, and we'll give a little credit to Dad on that one too, right? So
Yeah.
for pursuing that, chemistry not the easiest thing on the planet. Now,
No.
you might be too young to know this. If I say the name Jimmy Valvano, did you get warm? Do you get warm fuzzies? Do you kind of get warm and cuddly inside when?
Kurt, having the NC State men and women's basketball team be in the Final Four at the same time, that brought back all the Valvano vibes that you could possibly imagine. But I'm a lifelong Wolfpack fan, and I was in the minority when I was in school. Like going through elementary, middle, high school, people were all Tar Heel fans. So
That's
I
right.
was actually a fan as a child, so I know exactly who Jim Valvano is, and
That's
I was
right.
really
Well,
excited to see what happened with our basketball teams being able to go all the way to the Final Four. That was epic. So yeah.
it was an epic season. As a matter of fact, I don't know where I was or who I was with, and we were sitting there, and I'm like, "Hey, wait a minute!" I go, "Did you realize that the guys and the girls are
Yeah.
both NC State?" I mean, what? I don't know I don't know when or if that's happened. I think I actually even looked it up. I don't know if it's happened before.
I don't know if it has, but I mean, it was one of those things that really just every single Wolfpack fan was so
Yeah.
over the moon, and they started pulling back clips from Jim Valvano
That's
way
right.
back in the day. So again, yeah, it just gives you goosebumps. It was an exciting time.
Well, you know what? I don't know if I don't know if I'm sorry to digress, but I'm over 50. And so when Jimmy Valvano, if you're under a certain age, Google or search Jimmy Valvano and look up his last speech on ESPN. And I can't even, I'll get choked up like even talking about it. But he says three things, if I'm not mistaken, right, Damon? I think you and I talk about it frequently. So like Jimmy Valvano kind of rings my ear. I'm going totally off script here, Adrienne. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong. I think he says laugh every day, cry every day, and tell somebody you love them every day. And I just, man, if you just do those three things, well, like what simple and easy advice to live by. Adrienne, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And that was a really heartfelt speech that he gave. And a lot of people, still talk about that this day, and how he talked about just never give up. If you could be that way and live your life every day that way, I think you'll definitely have a rich life.
Yeah, because when you're a guy and you Damon, right? When you're over 50, you cry on a commercial.
Oh, yeah.
Damon and I cry all the time on our show. So it's just, and I'm like, hey, if anybody says anything, I'm like, hey, Jimmy Valvano told me to cry every day, so I'm doing it.
Yeah,
so,
check that box. Got it done.
How can I not take Jimmy Valvano's advice? So anyway, okay, we did a deep dive, and we can talk NC State all you want, but let's go here. So Dad's a hero. NC State textile chemistry, not the easiest, certainly not a degree that they would have taken me on that one. So you decide to bring your talent, your pursuit, your interest, your passion into manufacturing. Just walk through post-college. Let's take what was going through Adrienne's mind at that time?
Yeah, I was really eager to get started in manufacturing. I was really excited to work in the dye house that I did. I just, you're wide open, right? You're just ready for all the experiences, and a lot of it, it's not always easy, because again, you're going in with fresh, perspective, and you've got your education, you're ready to change the world, right? But at the same time, you have to be adaptable, and you're learning new processes. And so it was, a huge learning curve in a lot of ways. It was good that I could apply my major, because a lot of times people don't have that advantage to have some of that background when they first get a job. But at the same time, there's a lot of other things that's just sort of the real life that you have to learn in manufacturing too. So a lot of great life lessons in those early years of my career, just out of school.
I love it. And I believe Shaw Industries is where you took your talents. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, you're very passionate about Six Sigma, continuous improvement. Just share a little bit on your corporate career, and then what I want to do is I'd love to slide in right into when you took a big transition, you joined the South Carolina MEP, and then we'll do a deep dive in what's going on there at South Carolina, the South Carolina MEP.
Sure. So really early in my career, Shaw was very deeply invested in Six Sigma at that time as well. So probably within the first year of being there, they were sending people through Six Sigma black belt. So I had that opportunity very early on to kind of learn about those tools. I know a lot of folks now in college get that experience well in advance of even going into their final position in their career, but started getting exposed to that and lean tools, and use those quite frequently throughout the time that I was in manufacturing. I worked at 3 different plants over the course of my career at Shaw. And so I got a chance to kind of explore, 5S and continuous improvement and managing Six Sigma projects as their black belt. So you kind of got into it and saw the value of getting, especially to me, the one thing I would say for anybody that is in manufacturing, especially this early, there's just so much untapped potential in the people that work on the floor. So if you're doing continuous improvement or you want to change something or you really want to make a difference, the folks on the floor that are there doing the work every single day, they are absolutely critical to anything you want to launch or, implement. And they have such great input and they want to make a difference. So it got me exposed to that very early on. They're just, Leah, let's make it better. I have all these ideas. It's like, you just don't realize how much untapped potential you have in your workforce on the shop floor.
Yeah. Untapped potential, man. That might be our first drop the mic moment right there, Damon. What do you think?
I think so, Kurt.
Absolutely. So, Adrienne, we have these little goofy things called drop the mics when just people are dropping brilliance. And that's the thing is we love, here, we feel strongly there's a wonderful renaissance in manufacturing. And you're really a pioneer because you were in it, X number of years ago. And it's just wonderful. We're seeing women in manufacturing and just a lot of different, we need all the talent we can get into manufacturing. And it's just wonderful how, again, you got in such an early stage. Then you took a pivot. You brought your talents to the South Carolina MEP. For our friends out there that are not familiar with the MEP network, please share, what is the Manufacturing Extension Partnership Network?
So the MEP National Network is focused on the health and well-being of manufacturers across the nation. South Carolina is focused on our state and making sure that every single manufacturer in the state is equipped to be profitable, to thrive, and to grow whenever they're ready. And so that can be delivered in a lot of different ways, using a lot of different resources. For us here at SCMEP, we cover pretty much the full value chain, and we use a lot of third-party partners to be able to execute at that level to serve. On average, it's close to 500 manufacturers a year that we engage with, and we're doing that anywhere from sales and marketing to exit strategies for those that are aging out and deciding they want to transition the business to continuous improvement, logistics, procurement, supply chain. It just, soup to nuts is kind of what we say, is soup to nuts. We do all the things, but the thing is every manufacturer has different needs, and regardless of their phase of their journey, we have ways that we can best support them to get them to that next level.
Excellent. Great explanation. Let's go back to you. It's all about, Damon, it's all about Adrienne today, right? Adrienne, yes. When you had a great corporate career, what attracted you to join the South Carolina Manufacturing Extension Partnership?
So I'd actually been exposed to SCMEP while I was in manufacturing. So I knew a little bit about them. They had come and done their free competitiveness review assessment for my department and a couple of other adjoining departments. And so I had some exposure to it, but I just reached a point in my career, to be honest, that, you're thinking, what are my options to go to that next level? How can I better contribute? And just didn't really see those opportunities for myself. And I'd been with the company for 13 years and was just genuinely curious about the opportunity with SCMEP. And it happened to be one regionally where I could potentially interview for it. And, it's the best decision I could have made, because I'll be honest with you, being in a certain organization for a long period of time, you have a very narrow view. You're so used to the way that things operate. And then you go out and you realize, you're going into a 5-man machine shop and it's like, well, where's the HR person? Well, I don't have one. And it's like, you're sitting there going, how do you function without an HR person? Like, how do you even handle this? And you realize it gives you perspective, and you get to see lots of different processes and lots of different applications of technology. And it's just amazing. So, it's been a great experience for me. I've learned so much and gotten a much broader view of kind of where manufacturing is. You get very fixed in your view of things and think everybody's got these resources. No, they don't. They're not built that way.
Well, fantastic point. And, on average, I believe it's 75% of all manufacturers, and you probably say all small businesses, but 75% of all small manufacturers are 20 employees or less.
That's
And
true.
so, when you have 20 employees or less, odds are the person in accounting is the
Yeah.
person in HR. They probably are doing all the social media or any of the
Yeah.
marketing, and the person doing purchasing is probably doing customer service and 5 other tasks, and when they
Yeah.
need to, they're probably on the floor doing whatever, it's like everybody's throwing on a lot of different hats. And I
Yeah.
think that's where the MEP network plays such a vital, critical role. It helps the business owner not have to, it lightens the load on having to throw on all those multiple hats, where you can come in and pull some of those things off their plate. Share a little bit of just like a deep dive. You mentioned a number of things on your menu that you offer: lean, continuous improvement, marketing, that type of thing. Let's walk through like an example. You walk into that 5-person, 10-person machine shop. What type of engagement are you going through? How's that process work?
A lot of times it's going to start with discovery, because again, you don't go in there with a perspective of what you think needs to be done without really understanding where the manufacturer is. Because to your point, they might have multiple hats on, they might have multiple things that are inhibiting them from, maybe they want to grow, or maybe they're working with only 2 customers. If the majority of your business is with only 2 customers, you're at risk at this point, right? Because anything could happen. So a lot of it's discovery. So we're often having conversations to just understand a little bit more of the general climate. What's business like? What types of things are going on right now? How many customers do you have? Sometimes we'll use a more formal process, because we do have assessments that are right sized to different manufacturers. The really small ones, we use a different assessment that's kind of pared down so they don't feel overwhelmed by it. Larger organizations, we have a free assessment that we do that's a lot more comprehensive, because they typically have more systems, and it makes sense to explore that a little bit deeper. But either way, we're going to do a discovery process first and try and identify what those key pain points are and see how we can get them to where they want to be next. Because again, everybody's got a different mission, to be honest. We have some people that are like, I want to stay this size. I'm comfortable with this, but I need to grow profit. Well, that's a different situation than I'm trying to grow my portfolio. I want to expand in terms of the number of customers, and I want to grow that way. It's a different conversation, different needs. And I think everyone needs to be approached at that individual level to understand that.
Well, that's fantastic. Instead of, and again, it's, instead of coming in, hey, this is what you need to do. It's just really diagnosing and absorbing, listening. Yeah. This is, and again, back to the title of our program, staying curious, right? The art of learning. And the best way to learn is just, I learned we have 2 ears and 1 mouth, right? Is do a lot of listening, ask great questions, and then help them guide you to where you want to go. I'm going to go here, Adrienne. Can you think back some of the owners that you've worked with, just some really fun, exciting stories? Just, maybe you get that note like, Adrienne, thank you so much, or like, a particular order, a win. What were some of the fun wins or successes that you've experienced through your career at SCMEP?
So yeah, there's one that I worked with several years ago, continue to have a great relationship with them, even though I've moved out of kind of the business development role. But, and we spent a long time back and forth. Let's get this assessment. Let me come in. Let me talk to you. And we finally got it pinned down probably 6 months or so later. And they were really in a position where, it was one of those things that, inheriting the business and taking things over and just realizing I'm not sure where we're going with this. And we did the assessment, and we actually, based on where they were, helped them to get some funding to offset the cost to be able to do some different things there to help them. And they are still in operation today. We have a strong partnership, continue to work together on a regular basis. They're definitely advocates for us because of the experience that we have. But, that's the rewarding work, right? I think one of the things that so many people, maybe even in corporate America, to make a sweeping generalization, but I think people really struggle with what is the purpose of what I'm doing? What's the fulfillment in what I'm actually doing? I think that's one of the benefits of what we do here, is that chance to really make a difference, to really help someone. And sometimes I'll be honest with you guys, sometimes it's not even the services that we provide, because we're also a connector. South Carolina in particular is resource rich, and there's lots of programming, lots of resources that are dedicated to industry, business at large. And we try and put everybody at the table when there's opportunity. It's not just about what we can do, but it's, if they're struggling with other things that we know they could probably take advantage of and get somebody in there to talk to them from another program, we're going to do that, right? We're going to do all the right things to make sure they have every resource at the table possible to be successful. But it really is just so uplifting to know that you were able to make a difference and help someone get closer to where they want to be. That's an amazing feeling.
Yes. And that's the nice thing about the MEP, really, because you guys can come in and go, let us understand your business rather than this is what we want to help you with. And it's like the person that has a hammer, everything's a nail, and
That's
it's
right.
not that way with the MEP. It's like, okay, what's really a challenge today that if you solved it would make a big difference, and you can work on from there. It's a great part about the MEP across the United States. And then I really enjoy too the way that if your MEP, your state MEP is not a center of excellence for something like that, you go to the other ones and they have it. It's just such a wonderful resource for manufacturers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And I'll piggyback on this, Damon. So we interviewed a couple of amazing folks from the Illinois MEP last Wednesday, Adrienne, and I'd love to get your feedback on this. They were going into a gentleman worked for a hearing aid manufacturer in his previous life. And, and when we think about like hearing aids, think of the lives that are changed, where the baby that hears for the first time, or, he gave an example, like the teenage girl that could hear her boyfriend blow a kiss for the first time, or, a senior citizen who has spent decades on this planet. And he equated the lives that were changed at the hearing aid manufacturer. He left there to go to the IMEC, the Illinois MEP, because he felt it was a similar transition where he could change lives and fight for a greater cause. And I feel that's almost exactly what you're describing, is like you're coming into that manufacturer and it's really a cause beyond yourself. It's trying, because it's not 5 people at that machine shop, it's 5 families. And it's somebody that got their first mortgage, and somebody that has dance lessons, or a little league team, a child on a little league team, or, just share some of on the personal side, how rewarding it is for you.
It really is. And it's close to my heart because whenever, I was younger, my mom started her own business, not manufacturing, but she started her own business. So she was a small business owner. Yeah. And you have a real appreciation for how difficult that can be and how many burdens a person carries. And again, that was a livelihood that helped our family. Right. Yeah. So I have a real heart for small manufacturers, but it is, in manufacturing, the one thing that I can say I miss the most about being in the plant. I'm not one of those people that left manufacturing and go, I would never want to work in manufacturing again. I just want to help. I want to be on the outside looking in. I love manufacturing. It's the people that I worked with back, years ago. I still get to see some of those people. And when I do, it is just so uplifting because you really do care about the person. That's what it's all about. It's about people. The journey is one thing, but it's the company that you're in when you're on that journey, right? So I do deeply care about the folks that I meet and work with. And again, to your point, my dad was my hero. I'm invested in their success. How can I not be? Like, I want to be helpful. I think everybody can be successful, if they have the right resources available to them. So there's there's definitely a genuine interest in doing that, and so much fulfillment in making a difference. And especially whenever it's a private business owner, as many things as they encounter, hard choices are made. If they're not as profitable as they could be, it puts people at risk. They don't want to cut jobs because they didn't have a good year. You really appreciate that there's a lot of people involved in this, and a lot more than just, like you said, the employees at hand. It's, families are affected, and, even the business owner. Nobody wants to have to cut jobs or shut down for certain days because of lack of work. So anything that we can do there, you really want to prevent any of that from happening. You really want to see them be stronger and really be able to weather different changes and be successful long-term and really thrive.
Well, that's fantastic. And again, just like your dad, the heroes of our economy are, in our humble opinion, are our manufacturers. And so it's just great, how you're supporting them. What are some of the trends? Like, what are some of the challenges, during COVID? Obviously, very heavy supply chain disruption, workforce was a challenge. What's hot and heavy? What are you seeing now?
I think some of those things have endured a bit. So, supply chain, I think, brought up a lot of questions about what are we going to do differently. So there's been a lot of mobilization. And I'm sure if you've talked to other MEPs, quite a few of them have started to invest in using the Connects database. So we're all about trying to create that connectivity amongst manufacturers so that not only at the state level, but, at the national level, maybe you can have a supplier more regionally located. So again, there's still a lot of mobilization around supply chain because I don't think anybody's completely figured that out. I mean, we had a lot of vulnerabilities at that time. So that continues. People trying to make really good, solid business decisions around that. Workforce continues as well. It's a shifting landscape. So, some of the things that we've had issues with before in terms of just finding the right amount of people to do the jobs, but also, adopting technology where you think that you can't source a person. Is there an opportunity for a cobot or automation? Those questions are now coming up because, again, it might pay dividends to do that so that you can use the truly skilled labor for other things and utilize them in places that add the most value and leverage technology where maybe you can't seem to find a candidate. But then also for us in South Carolina in particular, I think one of the things, and we spoke briefly about that before, is electrical vehicles and just the disruption that will cause to the automotive industry at large. We have a lot of automotive here in South Carolina. So you start looking at process shifts and how you're going to adapt and any of the regulatory impacts of that, anything environmentally you're going to have to manage or from a safety standpoint, but also your workforce development. You have a workforce already that's very accustomed to the type of work they were doing for traditional vehicles as opposed to now moving from internal combustion to EV. So a lot of moving parts still, but some of the things that we saw during COVID still endure, though again, it's getting better, but it's making people really think long and hard about what am I going to do differently to make sure that I'm insulated from that risk moving forward.
Yeah. So, right.
So much there.
Certainly shook up a lot. And you gave us a nice little tutorial, little one-on-one on, a lot of the exciting trends in manufacturing in South Carolina before we went on live. You just hit how, and a lot of, some folks around the country might not realize when they think South Carolina, they might not equate that with heavy duty automotive. Share some of the other, and
aerospace. And I mean, there's just so much happening. And the father of all, racing. Oh my goodness. I mean, the Carolinas, if you haven't seen that was one of the funnest things about being in that area of the country when I was, is the racing influence and just how that's everywhere. But I'll go off on that.
Yeah. I'm originally from North Carolina, so NASCAR was a regular Sunday activity for me on TV. Yeah. So I could appreciate that.
Oh, awesome.
But yeah, I mean, if you look at what we have going on, to your point, Damon, we do have aerospace as well. So I mean, obviously, Boeing is here. We have Lockheed as well in the upstate. We have, again, automotive has always been one of our major clusters since BMW landed here years ago. And it really, again, explosion of supply chain and all of those folks that are building assemblies or any of the interiors for BMW. But a lot of things going on in that space because with EV, to your point earlier when we were talking, is component manufacturers, things start really shifting, and we have others that deal in transmissions directly. They build transmissions for internal combustion engines, and so now it's sort of, again, big ship to turn to go to EV. That's not a lights on, lights off kind of thing. That's a, transition and then understanding the climate for the consumer side. Where's the demand? Do we have it? And how do we start to migrate to have the right balance? So there's a lot of things there, but even tire manufacturers, which was sort of a blind spot for me, but Michelin brought this up and it's a valid point. And we're kind of like the tire capital. We have all of the tire manufacturers here in the area. So for them, product design and understanding how to build tires to that type of application for EV as opposed to an internal combustion engine, you don't have as much resistance. A lot of power is going to go to the tires, right? So how quickly they wear down, how they need to be designed to endure that. Those are things that I would not have thought about. But again, that's a very relevant change. And that could be a disruptor for the tire industry as they do product development as well. So a lot of things, it's just all across, the entire value chain of manufacturing and automotive is going to be adjusting to sort of this shift towards EV or this interest in EV.
Well, that's fantastic. I know, hey, we passed the top of the hour. So if you're just joining us, we're here with Adrienne Temple. And Adrienne, you're the Vice President of Training Programs at the South Carolina MEP, Manufacturing Extension Partnership. We strongly encourage you. We invite you. We welcome you. Connect with Adrienne on LinkedIn. She'd love to hear from you, especially if you're a manufacturer in the state of South Carolina. If you're coming to us from outside the state, man, check out your local MEP. And I'll tell you, as an entrepreneur, I'm a 30, whatever, I've lost track, Adrienne, but however many years, it's just so wonderful having access to a resource. And what's funny is we've interviewed a lot of your colleagues that were previous manufacturers, either own manufacturers or were in manufacturing, didn't know about the MEP network, found out about the MEP network, similar to your relationship, and then joined the team. And they all say, gosh, I wish I would have known about the MEP, or I could have taken advantage. As an entrepreneur, like you said, your mom's an entrepreneur. Just having that resource kind of overlooking your shoulder, just saying, hey, entrepreneur, I have your back. We're pointing out some blind spots here. And I realize you only have 5-10 employees, but we've got a deep bench of resources to help you. I want to pull up the website, and we're going to point out a couple of resources that you have. Before we go there, how about a shout out to some of your team? You have a wealth, an abundance of talent on the team at the South Carolina MEP, your fearless leader, Andy Carr. You want to give a shout out, or just some of the resources that you guys have that you spread and share with South Carolina manufacturers?
Yeah, so we've got 5 internal delivery people. We call them process improvement coaches that we send out all across the state to work directly with our manufacturers where rubber meets road to help them out. So, Susan Whitehead and David Woods, Stephen Deese, and Jim Woody and Chris Wayne, they're rock stars and we love them. And they are always ready to do whatever is necessary to make people successful. We've got our RVPs as well. They are amazing folks, all from manufacturing, just deeply dedicated to supporting their territories. We've got some folks that are highly tenured with us. We've got some brand new folks that have been here for 2 years or less. So got a good mix of the team there. So shout out to Rhonda Huskins. She's going to be leaving us soon for retirement. She's going to stay a little bit longer, but she's been with us. I think it's been 25 years or more at the MEP. She is amazing. And I just want to give her a shout out for all the hard work she does, because I know she's going to miss us. But we've got an awesome team. We could not do this without Andy's leadership. And also our director of operations, Tony Moore, has been exceptional. So just, I'm blessed to work with a team like that, because it's very rare to have people that are fully dedicated to the mission and everybody rowing in the same direction. But we definitely have that here. And it really makes the difference. That's what makes us successful as our people, for sure.
Yeah, and it's great. And again, for folks that might be new to the MEP network, it's nice because you can come into a project with objectivity, which is hard to do, right? Like Damon gave, Damon, that guest the other day, gave the hammer analogy.
Yeah.
And so, the wonderful thing is you can come into a project, and so you have your deep bench, and then you also have, as Damon just mentioned, you have there's 1,300 of you around the country at different states. We've had case studies on our live show where, one state partnered with another state and helped the manufacturer save thousands of dollars because of collaboration and teamwork. So there's just and you have access to third-party providers as well, which is also huge.
Yeah, absolutely.
What I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen. You guys can see that okay, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, so first, why don't we start here? We've got the Advanced Manufacturing Technology Resource Guide. Adrienne, share a little bit what's going on here.
Okay, so this resource just dropped. And really what we're trying to do here is kind of like I talked about before. When you look at manufacturing and sort of the challenges that they're facing, we're getting to that point where there's a question about embracing technology and advanced manufacturing. And I think one of the biggest question marks is, how do I get started? Where does this make sense? I mean, where are the resources at if I need them? So we tried to provide a resource guide to bring that all together for manufacturers to refer to, because we do see the value in embracing technology where it suits your use case and makes good business sense. But sometimes it's the adoption that's the hard part. So this is just a way to kind of give good information, point folks in a direction, give them something to work with. So that just recently dropped in the last couple of weeks. So I strongly encourage anybody who's interested to download it. It'll be very useful information around advanced manufacturing technologies.
Very cool.
That's fantastic. So again, we dropped it in the chat box. In case you don't see it, it's just go to scmep.org and you just check out their guides. And then I believe we have another guide that we want to pull up here.
We do. right there.
Oh, this one right here. We're going to go
Yes.
to
Oh
the
yeah.
workforce development playbook. Boy, this is priceless right here.
Yeah, this one is really awesome. It's been around for a few years now, but one of the things that I think anybody could benefit from is the fact that it's written from the perspective of talking to different manufacturers with all the challenges in workforce. What are you doing around recruitment, retention, and reputation? The 3 R's basically is how it's categorized. So it's about what manufacturers have been doing to address some of their challenges and resources they may have used. And then it points to, there's state programs that help with that. It gives some great input on ways you might be able to do the same thing at your company. So many people struggle around workforce still. I never want to make that seem like that issue solved. And I don't know if it ever will be, right? Because it's a shifting landscape. It's very dynamic, but sometimes, to your point about us being a best kept secret that we don't want to be, a lot of our statewide programs and in other states, very similar programs probably exist. So don't feel it's just South Carolina. For this one, it's written from South Carolina, but there are programs out there that are intended to help, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're somebody who's just landing in the state, or you're someone who's about to go through a major expansion, or you've got potential layoffs or challenges, or apprenticeship programs. All those things exist, but they're not very visible. And this is a way for people to be even more aware of programs that are at their disposal. I mean, they're there to help you, but if you don't know about them and don't know what they really do for you, you don't take advantage of them. So the workforce development playbook goes into a lot of that depth. It points people to those resources so they can get connected.
Yeah, you're making a fantastic point there, Adrienne. As an entrepreneur, maybe in manufacturers, a lot of times we get a little bit skeptical when we hear, oh, there's an agency, there's an organization, there's a nonprofit, there's a something that's going to help me. And they're like, all right, what's the catch, right? There's, and again, justifiably, there might be a little, skepticism of like, okay, but again, take advantage of these incredible resources here. Adrienne, what are your thoughts? Would it be worth our time? Do you want me to pull up Connects? Do you want to take a peek at that real quick?
You can certainly show that as well, because some folks may be interested in that. And there's quite a few MEPs that are participating in this program at this point. I think we've been doing it for the past year and a half or so. But Connects is that database that, again, I'm trying to think, Kurt, how many MEPs are now using it. It's quite a few. Some are further along than we are. But what it's doing is, fully vetting and putting together, this opportunity for B2B with manufacturers. And so there's nationwide access, there's statewide access. So in South Carolina, we have a lot of folks that are using the statewide access. But that means that, and there's a lot of discovery in that, because there's a lot of manufacturers that, believe it or not, it's a couple counties over, but because you're not in that county, you don't know about it. So all of a sudden you're trying to source something, from California, and you run into all these challenges and cost burden, but you didn't know there was somebody that was 2 counties over that can also do that for you. It's about the sustainability of your own supply chain, right? And creating those opportunities to connect and know these are vetted resources and that all the data is there, and you get really solid leads from that. So we're trying to encourage manufacturers to embrace that program, because again, we learned a lot in COVID, right? We learned a lot about what we didn't really know. And this is an opportunity to get us better connected nationwide and statewide.
Yeah. This is one of the programs I think that's understated a bit with the MEPs, because I just, from a manufacturer's standpoint, they have no idea who's in the next county, usually making exactly what they want, or if they're even there. And wow, it just connects it. And I'm not, like you said, I'm not going across the country or around the world to get what I need.
Right. Yeah. And that helps with, you look at smaller manufacturers. I mean, again, you might have big OEMs of certain things, but at the end of the day, the supply chain is made up of a lot of those smaller manufacturers, right? They're cogs in a very big wheel. And this offers opportunity for them to be more visible to other people that could use their same services, because maybe they could be in different clusters, they could be in different industries supporting folks, but the opportunities don't present themselves. And if you're a smaller business, it's a little bit harder to pursue those opportunities, right? I mean, you just don't really have the time. When these things get connected, there's just a better chance for some fruitful conversation between businesses. So hopefully that helps to really strengthen the supply chain, here in the U.S. and then definitely at a state level as well.
Yeah, totally agree. And they do amazing work. As a matter of fact, Damon, we should get these guys on the show. I think, as a matter of fact, Adrienne, we do our live show at the annual MEP conference and we caught one of the guys from Connects came on the show, and I was actually at the Alaska MEP in person doing a workshop, and I was tag teaming a workshop with a gentleman from Connects. So they do great work, and as you're pointing out, you might not realize who's literally down the street or one or two counties over, as you mentioned, who does exactly what you need, or vice versa. Right? What if somebody 2 counties away is buying something from across country, and here you are? You're like, hey, I could offer that product or that solution. So all right, this is great. Anything else that you want me to pull up real quick here on your website?
So one thing I'll bring up, it would be under the training and professional development. If you click on that for me real quick, and I want you to go to the SCMEP online. I just want to point this out because we were talking about COVID and things that we've kind of learned from that as well. So, and it may be loading. Is it loading?
Or did it open into another window?
Oh, you know what? It did. It
probably
opened
there you
into a
go.
window. So let me.
Good. Thank goodness for Damon, right?
That window.
Keep going, Adrienne. I'll get it in 1 second.
Yeah.
Just keep going and I'll pull it.
Just wanted to point it out because it was one of those things of you looking at, us trying to evolve over time. Whenever this all happened, up until 2020, we did not have online content available. And we do a lot of professional development training for, from the floor level all the way up to executive level. In 2020, before the pandemic really became a major thing, we had already set out under our previous leader, Chuck Spangler, who unfortunately passed away a little over 2 years ago. He had already set out that we were going to do online. And so when I became the VP of training programs, this was the first project, is get us online, get us able to provide access to folks that might not be able to come to our regular training classes. You think about the rural manufacturers that have to travel a far distance to get their folks trained in things that they don't have access to. So SCMEP Online is just another way for us to provide training to manufacturers across a lot of different topic matter. We're doing leadership, but we're also leveraging a lot of third-party content around technical things. Tooling U SME provides some content. We've got some folks that do injection molding as well. So maintenance and reliability training. And what we're trying to do is, we don't want to assume, to that point of that individual conversation with the manufacturer, we don't want to assume that every manufacturer has the bandwidth, the financial capability to upskill their people by driving long distances, right? So let's take that barrier out. Let's still make it feasible for you to upskill your workforce, but maybe they don't ever have to leave the plant. And let's make sure that everybody has access to it. So big shift for us, big paradigm shift for us as well. But we do have an online platform that's been going strong for about 4 years now. And just, again, that's about us trying to adapt to some of those changes as well. And I think a lot of other MEPs are in similar situations. They learned from COVID, how do you make it more accessible? And especially with the small manufacturers and the number that we have in our states, how do we provide the same level of skill development for them whenever they do have those barriers of transportation or cost limitations to pay for overnight travel? Let's remove that from the conversation, make sure everybody gets the opportunity to do the right thing for their folks.
Well, excellent. And what a plethora of topics here. Women in leadership, lean thinking for digital processes, navigating ISO 27001. I mean, just wonderful topics here. This is fantastic. Kudos to you. And I do want to give a shout out to Chuck. I never had the honor and privilege of meeting Chuck personally, but I know I was very familiar when Chuck moved on to another life. The amount of love that was showered, you just got a great sense of the huge impact he had on your center and the national MEP as a whole. So again, sorry for your loss, and what a great legacy it sounds like he's left for you.
Yeah, he absolutely has. I'll tell you, he set us up for success, and we continue to carry that torch, and Andy worked with Chuck for a very long time. And so again, our core principles, the way we operate, that has not changed. And that's really a blessing. But I mean, Chuck had the vision, and he was a force to be reckoned with, and we miss him every day, but we're so blessed that he set us up to continue on and be successful and still stay true to our mission.
Well, man, that is very inspiring, Adrienne. And again, I'm going to butcher the quote or however it goes, I don't know. Thank God you had that, though it was cut short, thank God you had the opportunity of had the impact of Chuck and how he's carrying. I'm going to get that quote nailed down one of these days, but you know what I'm talking about, right? So,
Absolutely.
you know what, gosh, Adrienne, I could talk to you all day, and I still have a couple more questions, and I know we're running over time. I want to be respectful of your time. I know how busy you are. The title of the show is The Art of Lifelong Learning, and these courses are perfect tie-in to what we've been talking about. For you personally, or maybe overall, as you're out there just pounding the pavement, helping manufacturers, any tips, advice, like what do you want to share as far as like what's the key? What are some tips for success to have that art of lifelong learning?
I think it really comes down to, I mean, again, if you're someone who's going to stay curious, you also have to stay humble, right? So there's things that you don't know, but always be open to opportunity to learn something that might be outside your comfort zone. I mean, that's where you're really going to grow, right? I mean, you can kind of stay in a certain place and really not expand your horizons a bit on learning new things because of the fear of being very vulnerable in that or feeling, silly for not knowing those things. But, there's so much more opportunity for true growth and development and continuing to ignite your passion for things by stretching yourself beyond. I mean, I do the same thing. So again, I walk the talk. I'm a chemistry person, and I was in sales, and that was a weird space for me. And I learned a lot from it, but it was me taking that first jump and saying, I don't know a lot about this, but why not? Yeah. And, same thing goes today. I've done a lot of professional development on my own in marketing because I'm curious and I'm interested. And I think it's a really cool thing to learn. So for anybody, I really think that you just have to recognize that there's so much more beyond your comfort zone than you probably realize, and a lot to be gained from that. So just in staying open to learn something new and, throw aside assumption or hesitation, be open because there's a lot to be gained from that.
Well, I love it. Dad's legacy is certainly staying strong, being that fierce educator and just, having all the books, the book for dummies and all these, everything that he had on your shelves and just, instilling that in you and your brother. As we wind down, Damon, I do have a question here today. I do have, so I can't help myself. I have to ask, I have a baseball question. So now, Damon, when we're talking to somebody from South Carolina, I have to pull this up. Don't I have to pull up my
Yes, you do.
Now it has a lot to do with manufacturing, right? Savannah Bananas. I don't know, maybe they make baseball bats, or I tell you, they're manufacturing a lot of fun in Savannah.
Yes,
we do have to say that, right, Adrienne?
Yes, absolutely.
So here's my question. So you're a big NC State fan. Hypothetical for you, if you were called to, they're like, hey, Adrienne, we need you to play on the Savannah Bananas, just hypothetically, okay? And you grab your bat, you have your helmet, and you're on your way up to the plate. What would be your walk-up song at a Savannah Banana game? How about that question?
Wow, that's a really interesting question. You've been sitting on that the whole time. Is that the surprise that you had for me?
Right, little now we ask every guest that question, but I never tell them ahead of time.
I'll tell you what, and I've got a good comeback, which is very rare, but I can poke fun at myself. So I would say it would be Eye of the Tiger, and it's because my name is Adrienne, and I grew up everybody saying, "Hey, Adrienne, yo, Adrienne." So we'll embrace that, right? I'm just
there you go.
That.
There you go.
Eye of the Tiger from Rocky. Yeah.
Hey, God bless you. That is,
you gotta go there,
man. That.
Just embrace it and go with it.
Yeah, at this point, I kind of have to. Yeah.
Eye of the Tiger, and I'm thinking of Rocky running up the stairs at the library.
Oh yeah. Doing the whole
the whole thing. All right. So, hey, we've got a couple comments here. Damon, Harry's in the house. Harry, happy Monday. It's much easier to be a perpetual learner when you have great trainers and teachers. It's obviously you inspire learning, Adrienne. And Schuler says, hey, amen to that. So, guys, thank you for the comments. Thank you for joining us today. Adrienne, we're going to close out. Any parting thoughts, words of wisdom that you want to share with folks out there today?
I'm going to leave this with you, and this is actually my dad. But you guys will appreciate this. So whenever he was still working in the plant, on his whiteboard, he put in bold letters, ASK, ask. And it stands for always seek knowledge. And that is what I would leave anybody with, is always seek knowledge. There it is.
There it is.
All right. Well,
Boom.
Adrienne, we have dropped the mic moments, but then when it gets off the charts, we call them moments of silence. So we just want to savor that. And forgive me, what's Dad's first name again?
Eddie.
So all right, big shout out, lots of love to Eddie. Tell him,
Yeah.
friends of our big Jimmy V fans said big hello to Dad Eddie. So thank you for the brilliance. Always seek knowledge. Always seek knowledge. Best business advice right there, Damon. What do you think of that one?
I think it is good stuff.
All right. So, hey, what we're going to do, we're going to close out. I encourage you, invite you, welcome you. You just saw, you heard the fire. If you miss anything, do yourself a favor, go back, hit the replay button, catch all this wonderful inspiration from Adrienne. If you want to take that conversation further, please connect and reach out to her on LinkedIn. Stop by the SCMEP.org website. Tons of information, all sorts of things going on there. So, Adrienne, thank you. We appreciate you. And as a matter of fact, Damon, how about let's give a big standing ovation for Adrienne, just absolutely crushing it, hitting the ball out of the park. She has the eye of the tiger. Gave a little Rocky reference. I love it. So you made my day with that one. So we're gonna close out. Adrienne, we're gonna ask you to hang out with us for 1 second. Man, David, are you ready to run through a wall or what, man? This was fire. So, all right. We just encourage you guys, go out and be someone's inspiration, just like Adrienne was today. We're going to be back here Friday. We have another amazing, wonderful guest with us, as we are just dedicated to helping manufacturers. So have a great rest of your day. Rock it the rest of the week, and we'll see you Friday.
Have a great week.
Thanks.